Let's talk about Russia, Ukraine. I continue to be baffled, as I said, by how little coverage it's getting. This morning, or yesterday, last night, President Zelensky and the European leaders all were very bullish on how things were going, or at least they said they did. There's still some security issues that need to be worked out. There's talks of possible additional meetings either in Ukraine or Florida this weekend to continue to work through it. There was also talk of a potential ceasefire for Christmas. The Russians this morning, 103, seemed to put out any prospect that they would agree to that. Putin's spokesperson said Moscow, quote, wants peace, not a ceasefire, claiming that a pause would allegedly give Ukraine time to regroup and continue the war. The idea of a Christmas ceasefire had been proposed by the German chancellor. That's from some Twitter account that I'm not familiar with. It says Ukraine supports a Christmas ceasefire and an energy ceasefire. That appears not to be in the cards. Zelensky this morning also spoke at The Hague to the parliament there and talked about the peace talks, but also said, we'll play a little bit of this. He said, and this seems to me to be a big sticking point that hasn't been in the news very much, that of course Putin and Russia can't get away with war crimes and they need to be held accountable. Whereas we have heard that part of this is welcoming Putin back into the community of nations and the U.S. doing business with Putin, which is hardly a recipe for putting him on trial. Here is Zelensky. Let's play 104 for a bit and then 105 at The Hague this morning.
This Sunday and Monday in Berlin, we held really intensive talks with President Trump's team and with Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, others, members of the team, and we're working in a great detail on documents that could stop the war and guarantee security. This is very important. And every single detail matters. Why? Because not a single detail must become a reward for Russia's aggression. If the aggressor receives a reward,
switch the other
he
one, please.
starts to believe that during this war, there is hardly a crime against humanity that Russia has not committed. Even the Netherlands, sadly knows all too well that these are not just words. We do remember MH17, a terrible act of Russian murder followed by shameful lies that cannot simply be forgotten, and the people will not forget. And when the guns stay silent, when the drones stop killing, the law must still speak. Russian root causes should be returned to Russia, and it cannot be that war criminals travel freely across Europe or the world as if they were tourists. It cannot be that those who killed are suddenly treated as respectable partners.
People have been saying, well, Putin's not going to agree to this, so this is all a waste of time. My sense from talking to people in the administration is, of course they've figured out where Putin is on this. They're going to just waste all this time getting a deal with the Ukrainians to then go back and Putin say no interest. So do you get a sense that this is headed towards a deal or not at this point?
I think so. I don't think the administration will want to go too far down the road without a deal at the end of the ride. I mean, the question is whether Putin's going to be Grinch or Scrooge. Scrooge, of course, had a revelation and helped save Christmas. I don't really bet on Putin, so I think he's more of a Grinch. He could ultimately say no, but there must be some signs of progress. So I think they're aiming for that. There must be there's like a scene behind the scene that's happening, which we're not aware of. And maybe there's some assurances being given here and there. Because I think both sides must be fed up with the war, and hopefully it does, as you say, reach a better conclusion.
Yeah. Speaking of betting, Kristen, our friends at Polymarket, that exact question, will there be a deal? Put that up, please, 108. And here's the Polymarket bettors. You can bet on Polymarket all over the world on a bunch of things soon in the U.S. Here's a Russia and Ukraine ceasefire by the end of next month, by the end of January. Only a 12% chance, according to Polymarket bettors. So they're more bearish than Jim is and than I am. Kristen, 12%, does that seem like the right number?
I think so. I mean, we say, why isn't this on the front page and why aren't we talking about it? I think people, even some people in the administration, are just exhausted by it. There's progress and then stop and then 2 steps back, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. And we're dealing with smart yet erratic leaders here. So it's not like Putin is a reliable deal maker. And I think, while I'm sure there are things behind the scenes that give some hope to this, there just have been too many missed deadlines, too slow of progress that I would be shocked. I hope it could get solved by next month, but I would be shocked if it did.
They say that something that's easy is like a walk in the park. Well, easier than a walk in the park, hit the subscribe button, be part of the two-way community, never miss an episode, be part of our conversations. Thank you for your service to America.
And don't forget, you can now listen to the morning meeting and Two-Way Tonight on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.